This market is dependent on two things. One of them being an end to the trade war with China, the other being continued rate cuts. If this market does not get both of these, this market collapses. It's Thursday, July 11th, 2019. Dow Jones over 27,000 points. I think most of us today can agree that the Fed has a very low threshold of pain, a very low pain tolerance, and that this Fed is going to do whatever it takes to continue to manipulate the stock market, to continue to prop up the stock market. The main job now of the Fed is to continue to prop up the stock market. If the bond market is really telling us something, at what point will the equity market wake up? We are witnessing these markets drugged on low rates and easy money. Any disappointments on cutting rates will result in equities falling down. If the markets feel like rates aren't going to be lowered, these markets just collapse. You can only do this so much. The more we do this, the less and less effects it's going to have on the market. The more QE, the more cutting of interest rates, the less effect it's going to have. We look at corporate overpriced debt. 8 out of 10 world bonds have negative yields. If you raise the rates, it is game over. We can no longer normalize rates. We can no longer raise rates, because if we do, we have massive debt. We have 8 out of 10 world bond markets with negative yields. It is going to be a catastrophe when we have to raise rates, or when we're forced to do it. I don't know how that's even going to play out. I don't even know at this point how it's even possible to raise rates with all this debt, negative yielding debt out there, and the massive U.S. debt right here. How do we service this debt? And how is the globe going to service all this debt when interest rates go up? We are really sitting on a powder keg here, and we're putting ourselves in a corner. The Fed is in a corner. It can only lower rates. What happens when that no longer works? What happens when rates have to be raised? We are really heading into some very uncharted water here, and it is going to be very, very scary times here in America. How long and how much longer can this go on? We continue to rack up massive debt. We're going to continue to lower rates. We're going to continue to print money and devalue what's left of the US dollar. We are going to force hyperinflation into America. And while all this is going on, there is more bad news in the trucking industry. Truckers' fears are at recession level highs. This is on Zero Hedge today. I mean, this is another warning sign. This is the canary in the coal mine. Report by Business Insider. Truckers are fearing the worst. Many don't see themselves being able to remain in business for the long term. Their confidence has plummeted to recession levels, and their fears of a downturn are skyrocketing. Capacity is high. This means the number of trucks available to move loads was up 29.9% this June compared to last June. So we have a massive amount of trucks and only so much a cargo to ship. Last year was profitable, so companies ordered more trucks. They expected to see, right now they expect to see more companies going bankrupt or scaling back. And my question to this is, what about the small owner operator, the small independent guy? The big guys, they can cut back. They're going to get discounted fuel. They're buying parts and fuel in bulk. What about the owner operator, the small guy? How is he going to survive during this? So as most of you know, I said in my last video, a good friend of mine wrote me on Facebook, and he told me how bad, he's an independent operator, or a owner operator. And so he's basically an independent contractor. And he just told me it's the worst since 2008, 2009, and he is really getting nervous. It says here, according to the report, some trucker earnings have gone from to 7,000 a week down to 3,500 to 5,000 a week. And that's before repairs, maintenance, and other business expenses like fuel costs. Many say they don't know how long they can stay in business if things do not pick up. So, trucking is the backbone of America. That's telling us a lot. They're not making money. It's getting super, super competitive. We're witnessing the retail apocalypse, and there is less and less shipping going on. Here's another article on Zero Hedge, questions about the stellar June jobs report. And there's a couple questions I want to paraphrase in this article of why maybe this jobs report just isn't as good as the media is telling us. Here's a couple questions. How does 1.5% annualized growth in employment create sustained rates of higher economic growth going forward? Here's another question. Does it seem like 96+% of Americans of the working age population are gainfully employed? Again, I'm out today. I'm seeing Lyft and Uber stickers everywhere. Everybody's a glorified taxi cab driver. Everybody working in healthcare or the service sector. Here's another question. Why is full-time employment relative to the working age population? Why is it just at 50.1%? Here's another question. Where are the roughly 95 million people missing from the labor force? How valid is the employment calculation when 1/3 of the working age population is simply not counted? Why isn't compensation and economic growth doing better if things are so great? If this is, the economic boom of a lifetime, if this is the best economy in our history, why are we not seeing incredible economic growth? And why are we not, seeing better compensation? Why are we seeing a retail apocalypse? Why are we seeing the trucking industry folding? Why are we seeing real estate falling off of a cliff? Why are 7 million people delinquent 90 days plus on their auto loans and growing if this is the economic boom of a lifetime? Ask yourself these questions. Ask yourself this, why are we talking about lowering rates? If things were so great in a normal economy, why are we not raising rates? Why are we not raising rates? Why are we lowering rates if things are so great? And while all this is going on, Washington Examiner today, by the year end, you're going to have 300,000 more children in your U.S. schools from other places in the world that should not be here. I have to be careful what I say, but that's probably a very conservative number. It's probably going to be closer to 500,000. So, 300,000 plus children in U.S. schools that shouldn't be here, that you and I are going to be paying for, and that 300,000 is probably closer to 500,000. So while we're seeing our industries being decimated, while people are living paycheck to paycheck, racking up massive amounts of debt, being taxed to death, we are going to be paying for all this. People in America should be outraged. There was a video today, this is all over the internet, migrants from India and another with recent gastric bypass surgery line up after crossing over the Texas border. So we continue to see this invasion. Now we have people from India coming over, and one of these people that came over the Texas border just recently had gastric bypass surgery. It's absolutely amazing what is going down at our southern border. It's just insane. Here's one that many of you probably saw. This is all over the internet too. Deutsche Bank CEO says he reprimanded executives for having $1,800 suits fitted the day of mass layoffs. That's probably a bunch of baloney. These higher ups at Deutsche Bank, wow, 20,000 people were losing their jobs, were being fitted with custom designer $1,800 suits. These people, these banks, these globalists, they don't care about you. They don't care about the people that work for them. They don't care about you. As they're laughing and partying while 20,000 people are losing their jobs, they're getting $1,800 tailored suits, being tailored right up in their offices while they're looking out the windows while people are packing boxes and leaving. That's what banks like Deutsche Bank, that's how they feel for their employees. That's how they feel about about people. Imagine how Wall Street really feels about you. Ship seized in record $1.3 billion cocaine bust. This happened in Philadelphia, the world's second biggest container ship, okay? Owned by JP Morgan. Okay, JP Morgan, the bank, owns this ship, was seized in Philadelphia with $1.3 billion of cocaine in it. That's all over the internet. You can go to Zero Hedge and check that out. This ship had previously stopped in Colombia, Peru, Chile, Panama, and the Bahamas. They said that historically, ships involved in criminal activity are much older and beat up. This ship was pretty new, super expensive, very modern, and they typically don't see ships like this used in crimes. So JP Morgan did own the ship, $1.3 billion of cocaine found on it, many people arrested on the ship. So this is, again, your bank, JP Morgan, involved now in the transportation of cocaine. More news going on. We're seeing more crime taking place, especially in our urban areas. This is a Wisconsin outlet. 10 shoplifters went into the North Face store in Pleasant Prairie at the Pleasant Prairie Premium Outlets in Wisconsin. And they just began taking everything off the racks, off the shelves, off the racks, going in, taking everything. Like, retail doesn't have enough problems. Now people are just going in with these gangs of people and just stealing. They stole $30,000 worth of clothes in broad daylight in one hit. And just the other day, we saw the Walgreens in Philadelphia, same thing. They went in there, took thousands of dollars worth of products, assaulted a cashier. And this is where we're at today in America, where young people today go in and just take and rob, and it's just accepted. And this is going to continue to be a problem. And this is the good times, ladies and gentlemen, the good times where 10 shoplifters go in and steal $30,000 worth of clothes from the North Face store in Wisconsin. The good times where, I mean, literally, it seemed like dozens of people went into that Walgreens in Philadelphia, assaulting workers, stealing things, destroying a store. What is wrong with people? What's the mentality? What makes people do this? I don't understand it. And I have to say this again, this is the good times. What is America going to see when we go into a full-blown recession or Great Depression? What kind of violence do you think you're going to see? Look at what's happening right now. Look what's happening in your urban cities with some of these organizations that just go and attack people because they don't like their opinion, they don't like their free speech, and so they just go and assault people. What is going to happen when things really get bad in America? And I'm going to close it on this. This was on Breitbart yesterday. Gun background checks. We're seeing a record number now, 2 million background checks a month. And I believe this has gone on for 6 months now, where gun background checks have broke 2 million, 6 months in a row. So this is a trend that is at least telling me that people are watching what's going on. They're watching things like what's happening in Philadelphia, what's happening in Wisconsin, what's happening in Portland. And people are getting concerned, they're getting nervous. So we're having 2 million plus background checks a month now for 6 months for the entire year of 2019. 2,000 plus million background, 2 million background checks per month for 2019. So why is that? Do you think it's just all of a sudden? Or are people getting concerned? Are they watching what's going on? Are they getting worried? Do they see the same thing that you and I see, that there's going to be some type of unrest taking place in America, and they're making preparations for it? So I'm going to leave it right there. Just a lot happening. Again, Dow Jones over 27,000 points. Everything is wonderful. Everything is rigged. Everything is propped up. And I'm going to leave it on this note. make sure you are getting prepared. Make sure you are getting ready. This bubble has gotten so big, and the bigger it gets, the more dangerous it gets for everybody. When this thing pops, it is going to have dire consequences, and everybody is going to be affected by it. So just like the people here doing background checks to buy a firearm, make sure you've done yours. Make sure you have your security in order, because the bigger these bubbles get, and the bubbles are everywhere, the bigger they get, the more damage they're going to do when they pop. And everybody is going to be affected by it, including you and I. So make sure you're doing everything you can to prepare for it. I'm gonna leave it right there. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful week. God bless every one of you.